Hi, good to see you both, and welcome to everybody who's joining us for a quick short webinar. Today, Rehgan, Nate, and myself got together, and we're going to be talking about what does it mean to be rolling out AI into an enterprise. We hear enterprise AI adoption as a very common phrase these days, and today I'm joined by two experts from both sides of the fence to talk through what's working and what's not working. But just before we kick off, Nate, quick intro from you. Rehgan, followed by you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Nate Sowder, Fifth Third Bank. I get to do a lot in, let's call it like ecosystem innovation. So my joke is I get paid to look out the window, right, to see what's going on in local ecosystem, largely across Southwest Ohio and beyond, to show that, these are all the things that we could be doing at the bank to work with teams inside the bank to see if they would benefit either our internal processes, things for our customers, or ways of working, ways of improving our internal technology as well.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Nate.
Yeah, I'm Rehgan Bleile, co-founder and CEO of Align AI. I have been in the AI governance ecosystem, specifically within financial services and regulated industries for almost a decade now, and have spent a lot of my time banging my head against a lot of these questions. So I'm excited to talk about it with both of you, just because there's so many great perspectives that we're bringing to the table in this with this group. And yeah, let's dig into it.
Thank you, Rehgan. And I'm Karan, Jain, founder and CEO of NayaOne. NayaOne's a vendor delivery stack that basically helps enterprises accelerate their time to market. So with that, first question. Nate, you mentioned you get paid to look out the window, but you do sit inside the bank, which means you get to see what's hopefully happening inside as well, and then see what's happening outside to see what's going to be brought in that's going to be helpful. So with that perspective, what are some of the things that you're seeing that are working well, and what are some of the things where you're seeing immediate challenges when it comes to enterprise AI adoption? Because contextually, what I see is like, you've got the CEOs and the C-suite and the boards going, hey, we need AI, we need AI. We see a lot of excited people, both inside the bank and outside the bank want it, but some things are happening really well, some things aren't happening. Give us a bit of a light in terms of how you see it.
Yeah, sure. And quite obviously, this isn't just a banking industry thing, which makes this not just a Fifth Third thing. Like this is everywhere, right? And so all organizations are trying to figure out, like, are we going to build it ourselves? Are we going to partner with someone? Or are we going to look at someone as an acquisition target, right? And around AI, that's largely the key to the game. And like, so a lot of what I'm working on is like, do we have the talent internally and the time to build it, or should we be looking externally at a solution to come alongside us, right? And so I think when it comes to a lot of our process improvement things, or let's call it operational efficiency, boy, do we need help in doing those sorts of things, right? And bringing those things on. And a lot of times we don't know what's being built in our own backyard. And there are some really, really great tools that are just right here that we need help uncovering. A lot of the individuals I'm finding that are tasked with finding those solutions, like, I don't know if we've forgotten how to go to meetups and things like this, or just be involved in our own local communities. But we need to get more and more re-engaged with what's going on locally, because a lot of really, really great great tools are being built. When it comes to AI for our people, though, I think that's one of the areas where we can do the most benefit inside our organizations, and that's where I'm spending the most of my time. Is, let's call it AI upskilling, right? Where I'm seeing that go wrong is when AI upskilling is very like task oriented. So AI to the task. So I call it like AI Mad Libs, right? Is the Mad Lib never really meets the task. So if you have a person that's trying to like learn how to work AI into their process, and so then they go to a list of AI prompts, and so they're going to try something out. They're like, oh, okay, that was cool. Obviously it meets them too late in their process, and so they're not going to go back to it, and it's not sticky. When in reality, what we're trying to do is get them to understand how to use AI to, let's call it like get started, get unstuck, or get ahead, right? And so what I'm finding myself doing a lot of now, which is another thing to be able to track effectiveness, because this is really the long game, is working on these, I'm calling them like AI tune-up sessions. I'm calling them tune-ups because I hope that people are already trying to implement things. But tune-ups in the effect that it's like, if you're already working on things, hey, bring your problem, let's work on it together, right? If you want a literal 101 session, let's dive in and I'll give you a heads down look at, how AI can benefit. Or if you want to see what I'm working on, then, I'll give you a deep dive into ways that I'm doing things. But what I'm finding that folks are having a really hard time doing is explaining context and intent when it comes to problem solving in AI. And really that goes really deep into how folks think about not only like problem solving in general, but it also shows how they lead too, and how well they can explain what they're working on to a AI platform and things like this too. So where things are going well, obviously, plenty of areas, especially the areas where we can partner with folks and uncover those solutions. Where things aren't going great, it's not new to anybody, but AI adoption and getting folks to utilize the platforms and tools that we have access to, it's not a tool problem, it's just a utilization problem and like harnessing the technology we already have access to.
Love it. And thank you for breaking that down so eloquently. I have so many questions, but let's get through some of the I'm just gonna one of the key challenges we hear is all around governance and governance. The word governance is so misunderstood. Rehgan, I'm going to come to you, and I just want to given your experience and the products you're putting into these enterprises and banks, what's your take when it comes to working with banks and rolling out AI products, your product within them? Like, do you feel the word governance is well understood? But because without leading it down a particular path, there's various types of governance that exist within these banks. What's your experience been in the last 12 months plus trying to work with banks when working with AI?
Yeah, and even to just tie in some of the things Nate said too, I see risk and value as two sides of the same coin, and I've been saying that for years now. And why do I say that? So when we're talking about AI, we actually have to think about like, what is the thing that is going to get accomplished? It is all contextual. So on the value side, to Nate's point, how do we get the most out of a tool that we have today from an adoption lens, which means people are using it in a workflow that they understand and they're leveraging it in a way that's useful. Could be an automation or could be in terms of engaging with that AI system. On governance, we also have to understand those exact same things. How are people using it? And what is the outcome or anticipated outcome? And how do we ensure that that happens and the bad things don't happen? So whenever we're using a product, we want to ensure that the good things happen and the bad things don't happen. And the bad things that don't happen, that's the governance side. It's like, how do we ensure that those things aren't going to occur? That's the risk management side of this. And so if you don't have that well defined, which in a lot of cases for AI products, they really aren't well defined, then, and especially if they're not automated, then we have a much harder time evaluating whether or not it's going to go off the rails, especially if we don't have a good, consistent way of defining the rails. So I think when it comes to governance, it gets often conflated with a lot of other processes at a bank, especially because it's highly regulated. And so there's very well established processes in place with legal and security and IT and procurement, even right when it comes to onboarding vendors and trusting vendors. Now we have this complex probabilistic element that's kind of bundled inside of software that also has to be evaluated and understood. And that's where the complexity actually happens. It's in this bundle of software that there's this little piece of intelligence that can do a lot of different things. And because it's so vague, it's hard to use, but it's also hard to manage. And so that's kind of what we've seen from a governance perspective. Governance is a terrible word. Nobody likes it. It's like cleaning your room. It's like the worst thing that you want to do. And nobody wants to be in charge of that, right? So I think if we think about it in the context of what does this thing do, what should it do, what shouldn't it do, it kind of helps both on the enablement and adoption side, but it also helps with putting those right guardrails in place.
I agree with you. And where we see word governance being misused and conflated is around you've got the third-party risk management going through the, bringing the product in, then you've got the model risk management when the product in, as you spoke about, but then as you're going live, you've got the IT risk management from an SDLC, software development lifecycle point of view, and I'm sure there's other risk and compliance and governance elements, but what we're starting to see is someone goes, we've got to go through risk and governance. You're like, okay, which one are you actually pointing to? Because they do have different questions that they ask. Obviously, that there's additional security bits and ongoing maintenance for IT products, as we know. All right, so this is shaping up quite nicely, setting a nice baseline for where we're coming here. Nate, I'm going to go to you. So you spoke about what's working. Got a lot of products out of the market. We're building a lot of products. Adoption challenge is actually how do we give them access and to people, as well as once they've got access, how do we get the context and intent and get that used. And from Rehgan's point of view, that whole confusion belt of risk and value, just literally being on the other side of the coin, just get a look, but that all causes confusion inside a bank, right? That all causes delays because it's easier, because we're a regulated entity. It's easier for us to kind of like just ask for another risk paper or ask for another explanation or have another meeting in 2 weeks. But that all means like that's a compounding delay, which was bad enough before AI. Now it's just like, okay, everyone wants it faster, but it's going to take longer. So like the screams are getting real and louder. So from your point of view, like from a bank's point of view and your perspective, what is the cost of all this, or what is, how's that get reflected internally? Yeah, perspective.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's one that, I'd say when we first started learning about governance cycles, it was easy to get frustrated, right? As someone with design teams and marketing teams that wanted to use these new shiny tools that were coming out, the more that I'm in it, and I attempt to put myself in governance's shoes, the more I see like, oh no, we probably need more forms, or more, things like more not more blockers, but you know what I'm saying though, because these
what
things
I'm hearing is you agree governance has a very important role to play.
That's what I'm saying. And the reason why I'm saying that is, number one, I know that these tools are changing so quickly.
Yes.
But number two, there are more and more tools coming out every day. And
it's a whole different problem.
Yeah, that's right. And while we have access to a tremendous number of tools, understanding whether or not the existing tools that we have access to can solve our current, I'm going to focus on design, right? Like solve our current design challenges now, or might in 2 weeks or in a month. Number one, it's hard to know in their roadmap if they're going to or not, right? I think that that's one of the things that we've learned the most about is in trying to solve, let's call it our own problems in getting ready for governance. It's learning how to vet these tools. And this is really where Rehgan and her team have helped us understand a tremendous amount about our own, let's call it lack of process, but then trying to get to a process to meet what we were going to meet once we finally got in front of governance, was trying to understand what a good product was that was going to meet our AI needs and AI capabilities, right? And so what I mean by that is like, not all AI products are created equal. Some of them are purely consulting organizations that slap AI in their name. And others absolutely do need you to lift open the hood and they need access to everything, right? And you find a lot of that out by going through a simple 10-question questionnaire, right? And so being able to work with partners that want to use these tools, right? Like very talented designers and things like this, to be able to start answering those questions, they start saying no to their own applications that they want to use when they start understanding the inherent risk involved in using those applications. And it's very fascinating because then they become better partners of yours as well, right? And like that's what you end up wanting anyway. And so that's one of the like really good consequences that's come out of better governance protocol throughout this AI thing. Because like, let's face it, did we have outdated risk guidelines? Potentially. Were we trying to take speculative risk using outdated risk guidelines by wanting to use AI product? Absolutely. And so we needed to update these things, but we also needed to take a step toward governance and try to learn these things ourselves. And that's what a lot of this has caused us to do.
Yeah, I love what you just said too, Nate. I know, and I know NayaOne focuses on this as well. And I think it would be interesting to hear how you help de-risk some of that from the validation lens, because this innovation cycle is slowed tremendously because of the thing that Nate just pointed out. And so I think it'd be really interesting to hear, from your lens, how are you helping organizations navigate that?
Yeah, so think of us as an office state platform, and banks like Fifth Third or any of the enterprises that we work with and banks we work with bring the AI product in. So what we find is procurement teams, innovation teams, AI teams, security teams are all kind of blocked at the moment because everything's got to go through these 10 questionnaire. I've never met a 10-question questionnaire there, Nate. You're super lucky. I won't say that out.
Yeah.
More like 300, 400. Oh, your AI, here's another 300. So
maybe they only trust the guy in marketing with a 10-question questionnaire. Maybe that's what it is. Right?
Maybe, yeah, it's got the Nate trust factor in there. So what we find is literally we have I was talking to a bank last week, and they were like 9 to 12 weeks to go through a security review before the AI product can be made available to the business units. And it's like, dude, you'll have 3 versions of that product, but the thing that's lost is, in my mind, is not actually that the product's going to be, it's that team is not going to be exposed to that type of capability. And this is where I think people like, oh, we don't have the AI product. It's actually no longer about the product, because the product's going to be better in 3 months. It's actually the bank's teams, kind of like the question to the first answer that Nate mentioned, the team's actually learning the art of the possible, the context, the intent, how you're going to work with AI is the biggest value that's being left on the table. So we have banks that were like, hey, cool, we've got a number of execs getting together tomorrow. Can we get Claude Code or Bolt or Lovable in the platform? Because I'd like these guys to have a 20-minute live coding session as part of the management team session. And I'm like, okay, nice gimmick. But what actually ends up happening is turns into a fish market, because now all of these guys have been enabled. The art of the possible is super clear. I mean, that's a very simple example, but to your point, to your question, Rehgan, the thing we're doing at the moment is literally not taking governance away, but giving everybody a breather and allowing access to AI products to these teams so they can learn the art of the possible, and they go, okay, cool, this is a product I can use, they can actually adopt, that I can take in, I can get value, rather than a decision getting made in an ivory tower somewhere that everyone's getting a particular type of LLM, but here's 3 LLMs, why don't we use them 6 months on NayaOne for everybody, and then we'll decide which one got the most uptake. Like, the game of adoption is very different. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, I'd say experimentation's probably never been more critical. And rapid experimentation, the try before you buy, it is essential.
Yeah, especially with
go on, Nate. Go.
Yeah, especially with the platforms that require a tremendous amount of information in the platform for you to perceive value of whatever application that is, right? Because, and especially at an enterprise level, it's like, how many times do we get a 2-week trial of something and folks don't understand how much of an investment that's going to require on the front end to understand if it's going to solve their problems or not? And I'm sure that the companies on the sales side just boil at how many logins that team doesn't,
Yeah, watching everybody go in on the last Friday before the trial runs.
I mean, I've been guilty of it too. When I walk into the first time and you see blank screens and you're like, oh no, right?
Oh no, indeed. Yeah. I was just gonna say there was an article from MIT a couple of months ago, which was like, oh, 95%, I can't remember, but 95% of the AI proof of concepts fail. And God bless us, our industry took a headline and ran with it. But it's like, actually, that's fantastic. The more we fail, the better we're gonna learn. And no one actually understands. Even governing AI implementation and the rollouts, that's a whole new skill set, right? In terms of, because we're still figuring out where the risks are. We're trying to bridge the old world into the new, but anyway, just to your
Yeah,
point around experimentation, Rehgan.
I know. And just to comment on that too, the reason people are afraid of that failure rate number is because their at bats are low. They only get so many because of how painful this process is. If they had thousands and thousands of at bats, that would be fine because they'd shake out all the stuff that doesn't work, and what would come out the other end would be highly, highly valuable. And I've noticed that as a very painful reality for a lot of these organizations.
Yeah. Don't get me started on the number of bits. Like we are we are changing how we collectively and the whole of industry, we are all changing how we all need to operate in order to let AI help us deliver better products and services to our customers. So if I just connect the last couple of tracks together, I'm hearing there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of positivity around the change that is happening, but there's also a couple of fundamental or foundational bits and pieces that that still need delivering to and addressing, and that with a backdrop of regulation isn't going anywhere. It is an important like regulation, third-party risk management, model risk management. These are all important bits. These cannot be taken lightly. But then we still need to respond to our customers who are gone from using web products to mobile products to now getting responsive from GPT so fast. Like the expectation curves really gone up as well. Like, how do you guys think about like what would future look like? And I'll start with you, Rehgan, just to change it up a little bit in terms of like how do you see if you bring the opportunity and the known areas of improvement, like how do you see the next 12 months shaping how the industry works? Because the banks will build some, they'll take some from the hyperscalers and build on top of that. But then there's a lot of good products in the market, like yourselves, that they're going to work with, and there's going to be new coming through. How do you see it all shaking out? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I'd say, well, number one, there's still a huge trend of buy over build. Everybody kind of
100%.
pushed to build at first, I think it was a learning exercise, to be quite
Yep.
honest. And then they realized a lot of gaps. They realized that a lot of this stuff could be really expensive. I think a lot of banks are still trying to fine tune what that criteria of build versus buy really is, and when it makes sense to build
Yep.
something on their own versus buy products out of the market. There are a lot of great products. I think we're past the fear of vaporware for the most part. There's still a lot out there, but there's a lot of substance now and a lot of
Mhm.
products that are really good. And so there are companies getting a lot of value out of partnering with external vendors. So still a lot of buy in the observations we've had. I think the key that organizations need to keep in mind is whether you're building or buying, a lot of the governance principles still remain true. It's just, are you outsourcing some of the management of that versus managing it yourself? And how do you create trust in that process of outsourcing it? Because essentially you are outsourcing an intelligence component of your organization when you leverage a vendor, right? You're not owning everything end to end. So there's a trust component to that. And so when we think about vendor onboarding, right, that entire process has been built to create trust with external vendors as organizations. And now we've kind of duct taped AI governance on top of that. And so I just think, keeping your governance practices principled regardless of build or buy, and creating a really nice collaboration point to the vendor onboarding process is the way forward. Don't put all of your ducks in the vendor onboarding process to manage all of
Yeah.
your AI governance needs.
Really good point there. I've I'll come to you, Nate, in 10 seconds. It's you can't build because of speed and investment that will take. But you have a trusted vendor that your peers are working with, or you've identified a nugget before your peers. surprise, surprise, that happens in banking. And then you start working with them, get a jump on everybody by 6 to 12 months. But then the thing is, like, the mechanism to bring that intelligence back in is something that is to be there's something to be said about that, and you mentioned that, Rehgan. Like, not many people think about it that way, but you are like, from my banking days, it was very much you only build if there's alpha because technology gets commoditized every 3 years. Now it's like every 3 months. So, right. So what is the intelligence? Like, how you feed the intelligence back into the org it's becoming more and more important. I hadn't thought about that. So thank you for pointing that out. Nate,
Yeah,
how do you think about this?
you said the word that I was thinking about, and it's a word that we think a lot about, especially in feature development, a lot in banking, and it's the word commoditization, right?
Mhm.
Because, I mean, when a lot of your products are commoditized, everything comes down to relationship and what you actually do for your customer, right? And so in AI, when we see people not wanting to pay a lot for product, it comes down to, what have you done for me lately type stuff, right? And what are you going to do for me next? And why should I be a customer of yours for, this year contract that you want me to sign into, or just whatever it is, right? And so I think, well, and why should that pass governance, right? To allow us to go through it, and so, or go through with the contract. So I think that's how we're thinking about, like, what comes next. And I think we're used to asking those questions from a buy partner build standpoint, which unfortunately probably makes us a little bit slower, right? In decision making, which maybe isn't always a bad thing. But yeah, it's very curious. It was really good to hear both of your perspective on it, because I think you nailed it, right? But yeah, it's one that we've got to continuously be thinking a lot more on as well, especially when we enter, buy partner build. Because I think Rehgan, and what you said, I think you nailed it in your thought process too. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Nate. Hey, so I'm gonna, and I gave the guys a bit of a heads up that I go off script. This is about the time of the thing where I start going off script. So just like looking ahead, I mean, the market's pretty good at the moment. Everyone's kind of well funded from a bank's point of view in terms of the investment cycle. We're heading into 2026. AI and AI adoption remain in the top three, if not the top agenda item. Are you seeing any, based on both of you, are you seeing any change in that in 2026? All things being equal, of course. We didn't bring our crystal balls today.
Oh goodness. I mean, I'm happy to go first because I'm absolutely jacked, right? So I think there's still a long way that we can go in AI for our people. I think AI for the customer, I'm excited to hear us get away from, like, and I know it's like the easiest way to go, or like the easiest way to think, but it was like every enterprise was, AI and customer service and things like this. I'm really excited to see it go more toward AI and operational efficiency, and see how it allows people to understand their own expertise, right? Because I think people are really going to double down on themselves, which I think is going to be really, really cool over the next, 12 to 18 months. So I think AI investment, and this is part of that commoditization cycle, is like AI needs to become a little bit boring to really understand that utilization aspect and how we're going to start to see this excel. So I think investment will change, but I don't see it going down. I just think it's going to change.
Change from inside to outside.
Yeah, change from, it was a let's put a bunch of time and effort into the things that we can assume, to let's double down on the things that we see working, or something like this, right? So I don't see like a lower investment or a higher investment, but now, we're going to start to see metrics on stuff, which is pretty exciting. And also, workforce stuff, to your point earlier, even about the MIT article that came out, like, it's easy for us to double down on an article like that. It's been way too easy for folks to talk about, workforce development or, and different things like this. Well, it's like I said earlier, this is going to unlock so many capabilities and reinvestment amongst organizations too. We're going to start to see a lot of that play out this next year too, which to me is just really, really exciting to see people start to own themselves, which is going to be really great.
Love it. Thank you, Nate. Rehgan, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing teams grow, and that's good, right? We saw a shift in temporary budget to operational budget. So it went from let's play around with this and give innovation teams, X amount of money to see what works. And to Nate's point, now people are doubling down and it's becoming operational budget. So that's a good sign and signal that from what we're observing. And then we're also seeing teams grow, like those core central teams that are managing this. We often work with a lot of AI Center of Excellence teams. Those teams are growing, they're not shrinking, and they're staying centralized, which a lot of people thought they'd be temporary teams and that they would kind of go back out into the organization where they came. And that's not the case. We're actually seeing those central teams grow. So that's good, right? And that means that there's more investment headed that way. So all positive from what we've observed.
Okay, I'm gonna share a couple of points of what we're seeing around enterprise adoption and the changes or things I see happening in 2026. But while I do that, I'll give you 60 seconds heads up to, I'm going to come back with the last point, which is anything you want the viewers to take away, either from, peer banks who are looking to do this, and or founders, who are looking to work with banks and other financial service enterprises in general. If you had anything that you wanted to share that we haven't been able to cover today, right? So you can get your thinking caps on. From what we're seeing, I'm seeing a huge swell of enterprise tech modernization budget grow, because for AI to go from, I wrote like Copilot, I've got access to a studio or a Gemini Enterprise or any of these things, to now go, okay, actually, if you get serious about AI, we really need to look at our tech stack, right? So how do we actually, what data lakes have we got, what connectivity we got? So what I'm seeing as a byproduct, actually data analytics team and that infrastructure team that looks after all that, and the cloud infrastructure teams are super busy and looking, and they've got a big year in 2026 as a byproduct of AI adoption, but implementation. So almost think what's going to be rolled out in 27 is getting the road's getting paved for it in 26, and I see a lot of that actually going in. I'm also seeing point number one. Point number two, I'm also seeing, and you guys mentioned it earlier, a lot less patience is the wrong word. A lot more education and acutely aware of metrics from board, C-suite down to go, okay, and business leaders, right? Okay, great, we've done a bit of exploration, we needed to, and yes, we still need to do plenty of exploration and experimentation, but now we can start to see where we're going to point and where we're going to start delivering returns. I remember we almost, as an industry, went through a phase, we'll jump on the stage and we'll chest beat about the 600 use cases we had, but it's okay, and okay, and you know what? The good answer is I got 3 very close, or we learned a lot. So I think the third thing, which is more about me being wishful and hopeful, is that as an industry, well, we spend some time thinking about our perspective, right? So in terms of how we measure success, because back to that MIT headline, failure is not a bad thing, provided you can do that fast and you can learn from it and bring in the learning. Right. So it's about this is one of the biggest, I keep saying it's the biggest change program I'll probably see in my career. And the thing about change is bridges, learning, communication, adoption. It just happens to be something that's going to be part of every part of our daily fabric. So those are my 3 points. And I'm seeing the third point, I'm seeing actually some exchange of responsibility or non-technical people joining in with holding the carrier of rolling out enterprise AI adoption. And that is because, again, they might have been in the bank for longer, or they've got it's almost not, they might have better understanding of business drivers. It's almost not about technical skills. It's like pairing up with somebody who's got the business, how to embed change in business, combined with a person who knows what's like, AI specialist. So I'm starting to see very early shoots of that. That's where my third point comes from. Okay, who wants to go first? What have we not covered? Parting thoughts.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, to any companies, like just for some context too, our platform, when our customers use them, every single AI use case goes through our platform. So we see every idea from every nook and cranny of the entire organization, and then we help kind of standardize on the guardrails or the list of constraints coming from all of the different corners of the enterprise. And then we help them shepherd those through. And so you mentioned, we've got 3 really solid ones. So we understand why use cases get shut down. So if you're a company who solves for a very specific use case, my advice would be to, 1, understand the feasibility landscape, to your point on what you just said. So what data is it using and how complex or simple is this? And then 2, this sounds crazy, but focus a lot on the integration point and how disruptive it is on the operations. Again, it has nothing really to do with the tech, but I have actually seen a lot of pilots be, quote, successful on a technical feasibility side, but get shot down because of capacity and operational disruption. And I think that's so fascinating because you're like, the tech's there and it works, but this is an integration problem. This is a user experience problem. This is I have not thought about how this technology fully is going to seamlessly slip into the existing workflow that people are leveraging. And so I know that that's not what people like to hear because they're like, look, the tech works and we've piloted it and it should move forward. But I have seen a lot of things get shut down because of that. So those are the 2 things that I would focus on as a vendor.
Thank you. Hey.
Yeah, I think what I'm thinking about a lot of is, sitting through a lot of demos and seeing a lot of decks and, trying to figure out what's going to solve a problem. But then also having had a lot of conversations with Rehgan and Nick and Brendan and ones, and what really worked for me was when, during a demo that I saw Nick do, he knew very, very well. We solve an enterprise problem so well, and this is how we do it. If I had 30 days with your organization, this is exactly the trial that we would run with you, right? And I can say everything that I need to say in like 7 minutes, right? And so I think like if a company wants to work with enterprise, knowing, number 1, the boxes that they have to check to be able to work with enterprise, but understanding the value that they bring to enterprise so well in a moment, not needing a debt, you know what I mean? Just like, I think that's the way, to be able to kick off a good relationship with an enterprise. And I'm not, I can talk technical, but I'm not part of our IT organization, but I had a need, right? And my need was to use AI applications, but I needed to get those AI applications approved through our governance team. And Rehgan's team was like, oh yeah, we can help you do that. And this is exactly how we'd help you do it. I'm like, that'd be amazing. Right. And so I think that's what's on my mind, that people need to know how to do is, maybe you can call it KYC, but I think it's really know your enterprise. Right. And so I think moving forward with AI, that's a huge opportunity.
Okay. Great point. Also made at minute 53 of this this recording. No, from being from fifth to no pun intended. So that was that's good. Guys, just want to thank you enough for your valuable time and valuable insights and keeping it candid. We'll release this. I think it's going to be beneficial for a lot of folks. I think like us all, everyone's trying to work out how to get either AI into the bank as a product, or while I'm in the bank, trying to go, how do I take it in safely without getting clubbed from teams that I might upset. So really grateful for your time, and thank you folks who spent the time watching that discussion. Thank you. Good.